Don't have any intro music, but hi, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. How are you?
Uh, Pretty good. I just watched Apocalypse Now last night,
Oh,
so
really?
yeah,
Oh,
that
man.
was a crazy film.
Yes, it is.
Oh my god.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. I kind of looked at that film with the Jungian perspective, if you know what that is, right?
No.
No.
Mm.
You know Carl Jung? He's like that psychoanalyst like guy.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like, you're watching a guy go deeper and deeper into his shadow self and accepting that,
Right.
or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain just at the moment. But the main reason I wanted to talk to you about this, well, one of the main reasons was that you had done Salvia one time.
I did it more than once.
More than once?
Yeah.
Oh God, what happened? Like, because
Um,
this is like the whole start of the conversation, because I wanted to know like what's Salvia like.
Yeah.
And I really haven't done any intense drugs besides acid. So
Yeah.
yeah, like
I would say Salvia is like far more intense
Yeah?
and strong than LSD.
really. I mean-
I've eaten a lot of LSD. I've
Yeah.
done like large quantities of LSD.
Yeah.
At once. And that's pretty intense, but I've
Yeah.
never experienced anything
Like Salvia.
what Salvia can do.
Okay, because like I remember I took, I think, a very weak form of acid, and that just that was enough for me essentially. Like
Uh-huh.
I think I hit the limit.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. When
So-
I was younger, I spent about maybe 3 or 4 years eating LSD all the time.
Yeah.
I really don't know how many times I did it, but I would guess at least 100, if not more.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I knew a guy at work that I think he's done more than that, but
Yeah.
still. But so you have quite an experience with what is salvia? Is it a hallucinogen?
It's a hallucinogen.
Okay.
It's a plant.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and LSD is like a chemical, so that's why I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that Salvia can actually be purchased at the store.
Really?
And it's like, of all the drugs that I've ever done before,
Yeah.
I've never been more frightened and
Then salvia.
thought I was going to die. Like, I
Really?
was convinced I was
Yeah.
going to die.
I
And I
mean-
was scared shitless.
I mean, there was times when I was like it was getting intense for me when I was on acid, and I was thinking like, oh my God, this is just terrible.
Did you ever like travel somewhere else?
No, I
You
mean,
know?
we went outside and
No,
then
I mean like,
uh
there's a difference between
oh no,
like being on acid and like having altered perceptions of things that are around you.
I think I was
right?
close to that because I couldn't like. I can't explain it. Like my mind was kind of going into a spiral. It would like loop itself into thoughts or something like that. And then I remember like, oh shit, I can't do that. I gotta think about something else. I gotta do something else.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is like you remained where you were, right? The whole time.
I
Because
guess
like
so. Yeah, I mean like.
Salvia will take you somewhere away from where you are, and you'll be completely in like this total dream
Yeah.
state or nightmare state. That
Yeah.
is more how I would describe it.
So it's kind of like Inception, where like you bounce from one thing to another and you can't really tell the difference.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the like Salvia has been used by shamans for like thousands of years, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of writings about it. And
Yeah.
there's certain they describe 6 levels of intoxication or like these levels that you reach when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first like 4 or 5 levels seem like they're pretty fun. That's a pretty intense trip, It's
Yeah.
something like being on LSD or marijuana at the same time.
Yeah.
Really hallucinogenic.
Yeah.
Definitely altered perceptions of what's going on around you. But then
Yeah.
once you reach that like 6th level,
Yeah.
you go somewhere completely in your mind, not where you are.
Like- Like so So describe the first level then. Like, what's that kind of
the
like?
first level is just like kind of being like stoned on marijuana.
Yeah.
You know, like lightly stoned on weed.
And
like
how much like is that like increments as you go through with the process of your body like?
Yeah, it's like the more you smoke and the more you keep smoking.
Yeah.
So I had like smoked it a handful of times.
Yeah.
Before and just taken like one bong hit of it. I recall pretty vividly like the very first time that I ever smoked it. Like no one really even knew what it was.
Oh, okay.
Some friends and I had gone over to this dude's house to buy some marijuana from him, and he had some salvia, and he was like, "Hey, you guys should try a hit of this." And I was like, "I'll do it."
Okay.
So I took one bong hit of it, and it was really strange. It was like my whole existence sort of shrunk down to this sphere that was like in front of my torso, and I just like stood up out of the chair that I was in and started like walking around the room and really didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know?
See, like when I was on acid, I was kind of just pacing down, up and forth, just in this like just around, and the guy I was with, like, he was like, you can calm down, you can sit down, it's all right. I'm like, no, this is just, whoa, what the fuck? I'm just, just pacing, because I don't normally do that when I'm thinking or something like that. So what was the second level? So,
I don't really, like, remember specifically, like, each level of it, except for that it just kept becoming, like, more intense and, like, stronger visual.
Like when was there like a focal moment? Like there was like a fundamental part that you saw that like something's changed instead of just like you're lifted up and just you're walking around with this like this.
Yeah, I mean that only lasted like a minute or two.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of funny, and like everybody in the room was laughing at me because I was walking around the room aimlessly and had no idea what I was doing, but I still knew where I was and could see everyone in the room and. But so, me and like a couple of my friends, we were just like taking bong hits of salvia, like for a couple of hours, just hanging out, like getting higher and higher, I guess. And then at one point, this is like the last time that I did it, and it was like the most terrifying experience of my life. As far as like drugs go, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'll do the best I can. That like I took this hit, and I was like sitting on the floor, and I had a laptop in front of me, and I was listening to music on that, and like watching the visualizer, just kind of tripping out on that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, I was just transported into another dimension.
Really? Like how could you tell, like, the
because I couldn't see, I could no longer, like, see what was actually around me.
Really?
Like, my buddies were in the room, and I was there, and then all of a sudden I was in this, like, empty space, and, like, my entire existence, like, shrunk down to this, like, point, and then I don't know how, it's really hard to describe, but if you have like a roll, you know what a Rolodex is?
Rolodex.
It's like what people used to keep their phone numbers and contacts in, and you roll it around, and it has all these pages, and if you flip it really fast, it's like it fans out,
Oh yeah, I remember those.
So that's what I felt like my entire being and my whole existence was being like spun around like a Rolodex and started to fall apart into these different layers, almost like Legos or like the Matrix or something. And like I experienced like every atom and molecule in my entire body being just exploded apart.
So you've just felt being like separated?
Yeah.
Like all your memories and...
No, not my memories, but like myself.
Yeah.
My body, my being, my spirit or whatever you want to call it. Like I could see that happening.
Yeah.
So I was in like this big, this vast, dark, empty space, but my body like my existence or my spirit like shrunk down to this point and then just like exploded apart.
That's really interesting.
Like into like billions of pieces.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, and then
it sounds like the Big Bang, if you, like from how you describe it.
Yeah, it kind of I guess was like that, you know. And at that point, like I thought that was me dying.
Yeah.
And I was really, really scared.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I can't remember everything that went on or like how long of a time this went on for, but suddenly I was like back.
Yeah.
I was like back in the room that I was in, except for I was across on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
And I could see my friends that were in the room with me.
Yeah.
And I could see myself across the room sitting on the floor by the laptop. Just frozen in space.
In sitting space?
Yeah. And I had this feeling that, like, I need to get back into my body or else I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So everything was, like, frozen in time that I was seeing, except for I was moving around, only I was across the room from my own self.
Yeah.
And I just had this feeling like, okay, I need to get back into my body. So I went across the room to my body and like tried to position myself back into where I was like frozen, you know, where my body was like frozen in time across the room. And I could literally feel like I looked down at my hands and my fingers weren't quite in the right position.
Yeah.
And so I like moved my fingers into the right position, and once I like locked myself back into my body, then I like came to, and I like completely freaked out, like slid myself across the room on the floor and like banged up against the wall, and my friends were like, dude, what's going on? And I just like couldn't even speak. Like I couldn't even describe to them what had just happened to me. And like my entire scope of vision was melting, rapidly melting.
Like what do you mean melting? Like your scope of vision, like you're seeing,
I mean,
or
if
like
if you've ever been on if you've been on LSD and you like look around and nothing seems to be still.
Okay,
you know, people that have like done a lot of mushrooms or LSD will kind of know what I'm talking about. But it was like the most rapid and like intense.
So your eyes were dilating so fast, essentially.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, that's how I
looked out the window and like everything was just blurry and out of focus and like falling and.
Oh my god.
And I was like scared.
Yeah.
Just absolutely scared to death.
So when you were out, when you had your outer body experience, did you see anything else, or were you just so set and focused in getting back into your body? Like.
Yeah, when I came out of that like vast empty space where my whole being just exploded into a billion pieces, that my only thought and focus, and I felt almost like something was there telling me. Yeah. You need to get back in your body or you're going to die. So so I didn't really see anything else that was around me.
Was that like a hearing, or was that like something else like telling you like because Socrates, from what I remember, he was telling about like his spirit, like, and how ancient Greeks thought about their spirit. So essentially their psyche, essentially. And so when Socrates is talking about his spirits, and he was going to his trial where he was going to be trialed and executed, he could have left, but his like spirit was saying, no, you go there and you tell him, like, you know, this is wrong, this is why, all this, and he gets up and he kills himself because that was the execution. Like, was that kind of similar with your psyche telling you like you need to go back, or was there something outside telling you need to go back into your body?
It wasn't like an audible thing. Like I didn't hear something telling me, but it was as if though like something or someone was there. Maybe it was my own self telling me. I don't really know, but like the only thing I knew at that point, beyond a shadow of a doubt, was like, if I don't get back into my body, I'm dead. I'm going to die.
So you were like, essentially like in a panicked state? Like when you're moving to your body, was it like floating or was it like just walking as it is?
It was like I was in the room with myself. I wasn't. There was no like visual hallucinations of any kind. I was just outside of my body. Yeah. I could see my friends. They weren't moving either, but I could see my friends that were in the room with me, and I could see myself.
So, like, was there, like, since you were since you were on Salvia, when you were on that state, was anything, like, different? Like, or did it just look as it is, like, right now? And when you've been back into your body, then you were having just everything's blurry?
Yeah, when I went back into my body, that's when I had the visual, like
changes,
perception hallucinations.
But before that, it's just like it is right now.
Yeah. Wow. And then while I was in, like, once I got back into my body and I sort of like came to, and then was like back in the right space and time, I like felt this. Like my body felt really weird. Everything that I could see around me was just like melting rapidly. Like my heart was racing. And then I felt on the top of my head, like the trip start to like kind of fade out.
Really?
From like the top of my head physically. And I reached my hands up like this and like stood up and like crawled out of the hallucination, and it like went down my body and out my feet, and then I was like, that is kind of back to normal. Yeah. In air quotes.
Yeah, but like your vision kind of got back essentially.
Yeah.
Wow, that is just.
It was like I physically climbed back out of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Like, have you told Carrick and Noah about this, or?
I think I've told Carrick about it, because I told him not to do Salvia.
Well, I mean, I really kind of forgot about Salvia until you told me about it. And then and now I'm just thinking, like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening. And it's just beyond bizarre that you could go and buy the stuff at the store. Even right now, you could go buy some.
I mean,
it's legal.
I heard, like, Portland is trying to, like, get, like some psychedelic mushroom,
I think
legalized.
Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon.
Yeah, there's legislation being put in.
And they're trying to do that for people who have psychological problems.
Yeah, like depression and PTSD.
Yeah.
And people that are like terminally ill.
I mean, I bet like all the smart people already realize this, but like that's like the starting point before it comes to like what's the word? Just recreational, essentially. Like, it's like the same thing was with drugs, and I realized that when I saw South Park at 10. I was like, oh, okay, so when this happens, that's gonna get legalized.
Yeah. And I I'm of the thought that like pretty much every substance should be legal.
Same
like,
here.
Prohibition doesn't work.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's certain substances that just shouldn't be legal, like PCP.
Yeah, I know a guy at work. He's such a nice guy, but he was like homeless, I think, for like 8 years or something like that. But he told me he's done every type of drug, and I was like, oh my god. And I think it was just besides PCP that he tried. And he said, just don't do any of those hardcore ones. Just stick to pot. If you're gonna do any drugs, just stick to pot. So I'm like, yeah, I think I might take up his offer besides DMT, but yeah, because I'm thinking about doing ayahuasca, but that's like an expensive one because I want to go to like a shaman in fucking South America and just like do that.
Yeah, I've never done that. That's something I would like to do.
Well, when Joe Rogan's talking about seeing jesters on DMT flipping them off, I'm just thinking like, oh man, I gotta try this out. Like, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think that, that stuff can be used responsibly.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there's something to be gained from it.
I mean, when I was doing acid, I was, like, essentially thinking, it's like, how I described it was enlightenment, but really it was just to have an experience of, like, I've never been on drugs before. I might as well try an hallucinogen because that's what I'm most interested in. Mm-hmm. So, I got to have that weak stuff, and that gave me a day. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that all that stuff is just part of like the human experience, so why not try it? Not that it's for everyone, some people are maybe predisposed to having some pretty serious problems if they take some of those drugs.
I heard because I heard there was if you smoked pot and you could have there's a higher rate of getting schizophrenia, or if you're already schizophrenic you have a higher rate of making it worse or something like that.
Yeah, I mean there's no data that shows that marijuana causes schizophrenia. I don't think marijuana causes any of those mental disorders, but it can.
Well,
if someone already has it, maybe it could trigger it.
Yeah. Well, I remember just hearing stories on the Joe Rogan podcast when he was having a debate between a doctor that's pro and a doctor that's con, and they were just trying to.
Yeah, I listened to that one.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Oh, okay. So then you probably have a better idea than I would, because I can barely remember it. So, but yeah, I just remember the tidbits.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, yeah. If only really, really bad people didn't make all these illegal. I guess we just have a different type of world. But then again, yeah. But anyways, going to the news, because I can't think of anything else with Salvia. I mean, that's an amazing story. Probably, to be honest, I might try it, but I have no idea when and or where. But I don't know. From what you told me, I don't know if I should.
Oh, you got to be careful.
That's
exactly. You can watch.
Oh yeah, so we just cut off there. I think that's a problem with the program, but the main point is don't try Salvia. It's kind of a bad idea.
Yeah.
So it seems like a bad idea because. Yeah, what I had the down effect when I was on acid, I just thought I failed. I need to be more stoic. So I was looking up a bunch of stuff on stoicism. I think I was listening to an audiobook by Seneca on stoicism, and I was just I gotta be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was oh my god, that was the strangest pain I ever had in my life. Because it seemed like all the nerves on my back were just strained, I guess. If that makes sense. Has that ever happened to you?
From bad acid, maybe.
Yeah, I think that may be it. But yeah, that was for me. I was oh my god.
But if you were super wound up and uptight,
that was probably that was
time.
It.
You might have just stressed out your muscles or something.
That could have been it too, because I was pacing around, and the only thing I ate that day was 2 apples, and that was while I was high on acid. Huh. So that was the thing.
Yeah, and the guy, you gotta be careful when you're doing that stuff. You want to stay hydrated. You want to make sure you've eaten something.
Yeah. I mean, I was drinking water the entire time too. Yeah. So there was that, but I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I looked like a skinny fat guy, so I get to make that joke now. No, seriously, I looked like a skeleton, but there was fat bulges on me, and I was oh my god, I look like a skinny fat guy.
Huh.
But yeah, it's some cartoon figure, I don't know, but yeah. I mean, I ate a pizza at the end of the day, but still. But yeah. But this is the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. This month has just been crazy. Everything that's been happening so far. There was that shooter in New Zealand that's just made New Zealand freak the fuck out. And then, Trump passing that bill to build the wall now, and everything that's happening at the border, and then the Mueller report being released. I mean, I know we haven't agreed on politics in the past, but, I feel like I've matured in how to, interact with people and how to view others' opinions, essentially. Because I remember, in 2017, we were arguing a lot on Facebook about, this is bullshit, this is not, no, you're a fool, no, you're a fool, or something like that. I don't remember the exact conversations, but I feel that we could break it down to that feeling, essentially. But I don't know, I think we both agree on the Mueller report. That was just a farce, right?
Well, what do you mean?
Well,
the
Russiagate,
You mean Russiagate?
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a farce.
Yeah, that was a farce. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wasn't at all surprised when the Mueller report came out that there was no evidence of collusion. I knew all along that that's exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, same here.
Not that I didn't want them to investigate it. If there was something actually there to be prosecuted, or if they did really collude, then I would want to know. So I think it was, sure, it was good that they should investigate it, but just all along the signs were there saying there's not going to be anything.
Like, wasn't it like 3 people in his campaign that were just charged for other things, essentially?
They were charged for other crimes that really had nothing to do with like colluding with Russia.
And I think for me it was like Roger Stone that could have been the closest, but then again, still, that like they couldn't. Not even Mueller could find something that you could trace back to Trump, and that was like the most in-depth investigation and the most costly investigation like in the United States for such a like political role. Like I think I was reading an article about like even the Watergate scandal. Like, when it came to pages, it was, like, 62 pages, and this one is about, like, it's past 200, and it could be up to 600 or 800 pages of, like, this is everything that we investigated, found, and concluded with. We can't or barely find anything.
Yeah.
But then, so I'm just, like, I think it goes down to, like, what this means, because, like, if all these people on the mainstream media, like, were saying, like, this is gonna happen. He's gonna go to jail. This is our last stand. This is our last charge to finally get him. And then it just turned out it was a lie. Altogether, I mean, but like what does that mean for like how to trust the news?
Well, don't trust the news.
Yeah, but like
corporate media is total bullshit.
Yeah, but like God, there was a guy on 60 Minutes. Like, I forgot his name, but he was so good at like just getting to people and getting like these stories like that, like if you saw him walking up, you were gonna have a bad day, I guess. I don't know. He was on 60. He died in 2012. I know that.
Is it Rooney?
No, it was something else. Hold on a sec. I don't know. Let me pull up Google, because this guy was like amazing, but even now, 60 Minutes. What was his name? Memorial 2012. Let me see. I think that's just Memorial Day. I forgot. Oh well. I don't know. I like. Essentially, he did what investigators do now. Essentially, like he investigated what it seems to us, news today doesn't investigate so much unless it's like for a political reason or something like that.
You mean journalism?
Yeah, journalism, essentially. Yeah. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, you have, corporate media.
Yeah.
They're all bad. Like Trump says CNN is fake news. Well, guess what? Like, Trump's pretty right about that.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fucking jackass.
Fox News is also fake news. So is MSNBC. So is like CBS and NBC and ABC. They're all full of shit because they're corporate media. They're beholden to their sponsors. And who are their sponsors? Boeing, Raytheon, ExxonMobil, like big oil, big defense contractors.
Well, then there's like the DNC and RNC as well. I mean, those are companies now, essentially. I mean...
Well, yeah, I don't know if they're like the big sponsors of those stations, but they...
Well, actually, here's the thing. I saw this article, and this guy named... what was his name? Tim Pool. He was overviewing this article of a journalist who was being... I don't want to say harassed, but accosted or something like that. He was being told by this NBC like head of political overview or something like that, like, hey, can you hold off on this scoop and let us publish it? And because on behalf of the DNC, we'd like you not to do that for like an hour. And it was essentially like like this journalist and the guy that I was watching as he was reviewing the article, and I was looking at the article, like it essentially was like the NBC was colluding with the DNC, if that makes sense. Like, and like there's no professionalism or like ethics in between that. They're just like they're both working together for this thing that's going on.
Yeah, they all have the same end goal.
Yeah, like and it was like right after the Mueller report, and now I'm just thinking like here's some dead set evidence of not just the Mueller report, but just a giant rock. Like here's this little grain of sand that just shows like here's another thing just to add to the pile of. It's hard to believe people who are professional journalists having ethical practices. So.
Yeah, I mean, depending on who they work for.
Yeah,
I mean, there are actual journalists out there that you can trust, like Glenn Greenwald, Max Blumenthal.
Yeah. Tim Pool is another one I trust.
I like Tim Pool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree on like everything that he talks about or says, but I think that he's like a good journalist and that you can trust like the things that he's reporting on.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but you know, Rachel Maddow, Keith Olbermann. I mean,
like maybe
they completely lost their minds over the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last 2 years, ever since Trump was like elected. Like I didn't know who Rachel Maddow was until Trump was elected, and she said, "This is America. This is real. This is not a dream." And I was like, "Oh wow, you're gonna be here for a while."
Yeah, well, over the last couple of years, her show grew to be the biggest, most popular show on cable news.
Did you ever see that video where in just one like day of her talking about it, she says
Russia,
yeah,
Putin, Moscow, Russia,
yeah. The Russians.
Yeah,
I'm just like, my god,
the modern day Red Scare McCarthyism, and that was something that the Clinton's campaign advisors and like the DNC came up with like in the day or two after she lost the election is to blame Russia for the like colluding with Trump's campaign because they're unwilling to admit that they lost because they cheated.
She fucking ran that campaign horribly. And he did too, but somehow he fucking won.
It's because she was like she had the worst approval ratings of anyone besides Donald Trump.
She is literally the face like at the time she was the face of elitism on the Democratic side.
The embodiment of the establishment elites. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say the elite, but definitely elite people because I don't know, just for sake of brevity, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the DNC was colluding with the Clinton campaign to funnel all the money that was donated to the DNC to Hillary Clinton's campaign. She was basically like controlling the DNC.
Yeah. Well, because like that was like the last Hail Mary because like the DNC was having like money problems, I think, right? And like they thought like she could win because all this I don't want to say progressivism because it's more of like a far left insanity. Because
it's neoliberalism.
No. I mean, like they were like horribly masking like this neoliberalism with, "Hey, I'm going to be the first woman president. That's the reason you should vote for me."
You mean identity politics?
That's it. Like she's being identitarianism.
Yeah,
and
look at what her campaign slogan was. "I'm with her." Like, what the F is that?
I mean, Trump has "Make America Great Again," but
yeah, I mean, Trump's an asshole. He's a liar. He hasn't done anything that he said he was going to do. But he ran a campaign that was anti-interventionist. It was a populist message: "Make America Great Again," like bring the jobs back.
I mean, these past 2 years, I feel like I've kind of grown up just looking at that because I've been looking at Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm thinking, wow, this seems way more reasonable than just blame it on the illegal immigrants, which I kind of get, but there's also like technology coming up that since I've been working at UPS, they've been talking about, and I don't want to say I could lose my job, but like I like the job I have right now. So
yeah, but eventually robots will be doing your job, right?
I remember we were talking about that when I first graduated. When I graduated, we were just going on that hike. We were just talking about like when machines come up, we can have extra time to do stuff. And I kind of believe that. I mean, it'd be kind of nice to live in a Star Trek world, I guess. But I don't know. But I don't know. Like, what do you think about like Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard? Like, because I'm kind of split on the two.
I mean, I like both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I especially like Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
I think that she's very anti-interventionalist. She wants to end all the wars and like bring our soldiers home.
Yeah.
She's she's for peace and against war. She openly speaks out against the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
I think that that's really, really important. Like, we are literally spending trillions and trillions of dollars to wage war across the entire world, and we're just making everything worse.
Yeah.
We have our own, severe problems here in our own country that are being neglected. And somebody like Tulsi or Bernie suggests that we go to a Medicare for all system. Critics of that will say, well, it's too expensive. How are you going to pay for that? But when we want to go to war somewhere, none of them say that's too expensive. How are we going to pay for that? And that's not just a monetary cost. I mean, look at the cost to the veterans and their families, and then to the civilian populations in these countries that we're waging war against. We're killing way more civilians than we ever are enemies.
Yeah. I mean, like the type of war we're doing right now. I mean, because war is constantly evolving right now. And that's the thing, because conflicts that we're doing. I'm not trying to defend it, but I'm trying to like the war that we're facing is constantly changing. So when we went into Iraq and like just took it over, essentially, that's what the military is supposed to do. Like, it's supposed to be like Teddy Roosevelt, like, get in there, swing a big stick, and then get out, because the military is not built to like occupy and keep a place like stable, essentially, if that makes sense. Like, and this is what I got from a Navy SEAL talking about that. And I think like just this huge interventionism kind of started right after the First World War with Wilson, because like he wanted like a peaceful world, like, America's the best and the world will follow America's ideals. And it was like this, like, kind of like utopianism, like this idealism that wasn't pragmatic at all. And we've kind of like just followed that policy and maybe believing in that ideal, but mostly it's just like, America's the best and this is how we're going to do it. We're just going to like put all of our shit around and just try to keep it there. And like after the Second World War and the Soviet Union, and now we won, and now we don't know what to do. I don't know. I feel like I was kind of going off on a tangent, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look analytically at like all the wars that we've been involved in since World War II,
yeah.
I mean, you can get into all the reasons why World War II was total bullshit too, but like, pretty much everything that we've been involved in since then has been based on total lies. The Vietnam War was based on a total fabrication.
Yeah.
The Gulf of Tonkin never happened.
I was taught that in school, and I think I got fired from my job for saying that.
What do you mean?
Well, I was talking to a woman whose husband was part of the FBI, and she was such a sweet woman. I don't know if she's still alive, but she was just like waiting around to die, essentially. And then I in my great wisdom at 15 said, like, you know what, the Gulf of Tonkin was bullshit, the Vietnam War was bullshit because of that. And I was just saying that right into her face, because she said, like, those brave men died so bravely. Or she said something that I kind of agree with back then, but I don't know exactly. But I just know that I was just an asshole for no reason. And I think a couple of days later, the boss just like, you're getting close to school. I think it's time to get ready for that. You can stop working here. And at the time, I remember I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, all right. I'll get my final paycheck and just head out. Like, I wasn't fired, but yeah, I was an asshole when I was 15, if that makes sense. I just really disrespectful, essentially. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I feel like I need to get that off my chest, but what you're saying is, yeah, that entire
all wars are based on lies, and wherever we go, we end up fucking everything up. We kill millions of civilians. We destroy and destabilize countries, and it's all for oil and oil rights and reserves.
Well, yeah, kind of. I feel like
why are we in Syria, Moses? Do you know why we're in Syria?
Because there's a giant pipeline going through there that Russia would like.
Because no.
Because they're trying to help the Kurds as well.
No, we don't give a fuck about the Kurds, man. We don't care about anything other than that there's the British government and like the Saudi government and like the United Arab Emirates want a pipeline to go through Syria. But Syria doesn't want that pipeline.
Because Syria's
Russia
an ally of Iran
opposes them building that pipeline in Syria. Which they shouldn't be able to do because Syria is a sovereign country. They should just be able to say no to the pipeline, right?
I mean,
but no, because that's what war is about. It's about oil. Like, why? What's going on in Venezuela?
There's a bunch of starving people there.
No, there's not.
There's half-starving people there.
No.
What?
That's bullshit.
I know. Abby Marmon went in there. I saw it, but I don't know.
Just all think about like weapons of mass destruction.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
Now, what's in Venezuela?
A lot of oil.
So are we there to like intervene and help the poor people?
I mean, I really can't
because
give a
there's people all over the entire world that need help. But if they're not sitting on massive natural resources and oil, we don't give two shits about it.
But here's the thing, Josh. Like, the thing about when it comes to geopolitical things, I really could not care less when it comes to outside the U.S.
So explain that further. You don't care what our country is doing outside of the U.S.?
Outside of it, I'm very much of let's just trade and not fight each other because that's wasting our lives. That's wasting the people that are there.
So Venezuela is its own sovereign country.
Yeah.
Why are we messing around down there? Is that what you're saying?
Because there's like a lot of oil. Exactly. Yeah. Like why are we messing?
So what you're saying is anti-interventionist. I don't think you're saying you don't give a crap about suffering.
No.
Like people suffering, but why are we as a country getting involved in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's none of our business, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, their money is just terrible right now. Like I think.
But why?
Because they keep printing so much, and there's a lot of sanctions. I really hate this program sometimes.
So we're back?
Yeah, we're back. God damn it. There's another program, but I don't know if we should keep going. Like, if we should change it, I mean. Because it also has problems, so I'm feeling I should get a different program than like a podcast.
Let's just keep going.
Okay. I mean, not right now, but we'll keep going. But
so sanctions on countries don't hurt the people. Like our country will say, "Oh, we're gonna to punish the government of this country. We're going to put sanctions on." Well, the sanctions don't really hurt the government. What it does is it hurts the people. And our hope is that over the long term, the more and more that the people suffer, that they will rise up against the government that's there in place.
Yeah.
So we cause starvation, pain, suffering, unrest, and turmoil on purpose to try to destabilize a country.
Yeah.
So the whole reason why Venezuela is having problems is because we've applied sanctions to them. They're unable to sell their oil on the world market, and they're sitting on the world's largest oil reserves, but they can't sell it.
Yeah.
And countries like the UK are withholding billions and billions of dollars of payments to them because they have sanctions, and they're like, "Oh, well, we owe you all this money, but we're not going to give it to you. We can't give it to you because of these sanctions." Oopsie-daisy.
Yeah. You know,
so we are the ones causing those problems and then saying, oh, look what Maduro is doing to his country, and there's all this mass starvation, and they don't have medicine. Well, we're the ones that keep that shit from going to their country. Because we want to go down there and fuck their shit up and take their oil. So like, all of our oil companies can move in and take over their natural resources.
Wasn't there oil companies there, though, already? I mean, because I remember
they have their own oil company.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. All right, yeah, because I remember like a lot of oil engineers were leaving because it was so bad, or like a lot of the educated people, when they could, they escaped.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know enough about all of that.
I mean, I want to say this because when it comes to administration-wise in the U.S. and geopolitics, we're very good at putting sanctions down. We have some sanctions on Russia. We have sanctions on North Korea. I don't even think we have any sanctions on China. But when it comes to administration-wise and trying to set up unrest and pretty much everything you said there when it comes to what sanctions leads to, like the kind of open society we have right now, like China and like the Russian government and the Chinese government, they see that open society we live in, and are trying to rile people up, essentially, like if that makes sense, because like there's this whole like political clashing going on in the streets of Portland that apparently now on the internet is famous for like Antifa and then right-wing people fighting in the streets, and then just what was it, Charlottesville, like that whole debacle, and like, you know, just that entire thing, and essentially like having these bots from Russia like setting up like protests that are right next to each other, and the police are freaking out because they don't know like what the hell's going on, and like there's these clashes, and they're trying to they're just setting up all these embers and flames, trying to like make it worse and worse and worse in the open society we live in, and like, you know, it kind of like trying to justify totalitarian like order, essentially, if that makes sense. Because I don't know, like me and Shay, we were watching that video. There was this video of a Harvard or Yale girl talking to a professor very disrespectfully about offensive costumes at the school for Halloween, and like how she was just acting towards that professor. All I could think of is, you are in one of the most highly prestigious schools and you're acting like that to a person that's being paid by your parents to teach you the best education, and you're acting like, you know, why did you send the fucking letter? Why'd you send out the mail? Why'd you do it? Like, just acting like a child. And I'm just thinking, like, at the time I was thinking, like, oh my god, this, like, if all the smart people are acting like this, what the fuck are all the people like me gonna act like? And then, that was me at the time. Now I feel like I have a better idea of what's going on, and it's not exactly like that, or even what I thought, but it gives this idea of, like, you know, if so much chaos is happening, like, people are talking about, like, oh, a civil war is gonna be happening. We're already in a culture war, so a civil war is going to end up where we're going to be fighting insurgents, and it's going to break up the country. I'm just thinking, like, the people that don't like us and have the power to do something about it really want us to change our ideals, kind of like how Osama bin Laden did with 9/11, and just making the Patriot Act after throwing 2 planes into a building and one into
so
the
who's
Pentagon.
the winner there?
They are.
Yeah, not us.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, it's such a complex problem. I'm just thinking, like, we're looking at it like the Soviet Union, and we're looking at it like World War II, where we can, like, just go in there by the law and not just do it underhandedly. I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing about how war is changing, I guess. I feel like that was just, I don't know. What do you think about that?
What country are you referring to?
Like the U.S., like how we're trying to deal with it, and just how we're dealing with the Russian government and the Chinese government, because they don't like us at all. So.
Right? Yeah. Why not? Like, why would anyone like us? Like, look what we do around the world.
Yeah, but
we're like the biggest. We're like the the biggest bully in the entire world. We go around fucking everything up, killing millions of civilians, destabilizing countries, murdering their leaders.
Yeah, but
America
I think that has to do
is like the biggest asshole on the planet.
So is the Chinese government, the Russian government. I mean, they're huge. They're governments. They're totalitarian governments. Well, not exactly totalitarian, I shouldn't say, but they're very strict.
Yeah, well, that's the way they do things, man.
Yeah.
That's their prerogative.
Yeah.
That's China, you know?
Yeah, oh my god.
It's not my country.
I know.
So they can...
But here's the thing, though. Like, you know Huawei?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, China's government trying to get, like, 5G and, like, sell that to America. And, like, the U.S. intelligence agency is worried about being tapped in by the Chinese government and just being recorded by everyone. And so, essentially, like, they can have power.
Yeah, we're the ones that record everything. Why would we want anybody else to be able to do that? Our government is spying on us. You know?
I mean, here's the thing, though. I'd rather have the U.S. do that than China. I mean, that's the thing, because China's communists, and I would rather have people that are not close to communism than doing that. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it has to do with just how much power there is, and China looks like a very top-down state, and I do not like that. Well, the U.S. may be closer to that, but it's not like China or Russia.
The U.S. is a plutocracy.
Yeah.
Our government, our military, everything is controlled by corporations and the wealthiest people.
I mean, it was like that when it started, too. It was... But here's the thing.
Well, is that some kind of an excuse?
No, that's not an excuse.
Was it like that when it started?
Yeah. Because it was rich white guys in the colonial times.
Yeah. When
this country started, that could only vote. He had to own land, and that was like a major thing when it came to colonialism. Right. You had to be white, and you had to be a dude.
Mm.
So, we got rid of the white and the dude and the land, but because wealth and how we view wealth is differently now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because of the Industrial Revolution and then not the huge need of land.
Right, but then there was a massive wealth inequality.
The Gilded Age.
The Gilded Age. Yeah. And how did we fix that?
In the Progressive era.
Yeah.
I really wish we had like a president like Teddy Roosevelt. Like that guy's fucking amazing. If we could get Teddy Roosevelt back and he could just read all the history that we all had to deal with, and he'd run for president, and probably vote for him again.
I mean, I think that probably Bernie Sanders is the closest thing that we have available now.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, fuck. That whole controversy going on with him and accepting Hillary Clinton during the 2016 elections kind of got me wary about that, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit kind of a painful pill to swallow. I don't know. I don't suppose to understand like what his end game is or was on all of that, but I mean, he endorsed Hillary Clinton. That didn't make me vote for her.
Yeah.
You know, I was never going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't vote for Democrats?
No.
Yeah.
I registered as a Democrat so I can vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason.
I'm probably going to I'm going to register as a Democrat now, and then I don't know who I'd vote for, though. That's the thing. I'd probably be...
Out of the Democrats that are running right now?
Yeah, because, like, I'm not really huge on the ones, like, my grandfather would probably vote for, but... Ooh. Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard and then maybe Bernie, but I don't know. I'd be stuck on those three.
Yeah, those are the only three that I think are worth anything.
And to be honest, though, you may get mad at, but if those three don't get in, and I can't really find a good reason to vote for another Democrat, I'd probably vote for Trump.
Yeah, I would never vote for Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, here's my prediction. It's not going to be Yang. He just doesn't have enough name recognition. I think he has great ideas, but like he's young.
Yeah, he's like, what, 38?
People don't really know who he is.
Yeah.
I think that I really like him a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I would vote for him if he was the candidate. I would vote for Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
And then Tulsi Gabbard is kind of the same. Like, I actually like her probably more than I like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
But again, who of those three has the best chance of winning? It's Bernie Sanders. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. Yeah, but there's some like journalism going on where people are like saying like, yo, you shouldn't vote for Bernie Sanders because he's an old white guy. And I'm just hearing that from the identitarians, and I'm just thinking
the same people that are like hoping that Joe Biden's gonna run.
No. Like, this is like the youth in college identitarians and their professors.
I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know, to say, oh, well, he's an old white guy, so you shouldn't vote for him. That's
exactly.
dumb.
Yeah. Because
he has a proven record. He's got the name recognition. His fundraising and everything is just completely off the charts.
Yeah.
And you can't say the same thing about like Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is that I think Bernie, out of all the candidates, has the very best chance of actually winning the nomination and definitely beating Trump. I just don't think that Yang or Gabbard have the structure and the name recognition, the history and everything yet.
Yeah.
Not to say that maybe Tulsi won't at some point.
2024, who knows?
Sure. But right now, I think that Bernie has the very best chance of beating Trump.
I mean, for me, I feel like the best thing about Trump is everybody wanted something to be riled up in the status quo. And the bad part was we got him.
Yeah.
So...
because enough people believed the message.
Yeah.
You know, which you can't fault everyone for that.
Yeah.
It was a populist message. That's why Bernie was so insanely popular. And actually, if the DNC hadn't cheated Bernie Sanders in the primaries, then Bernie was polling at double-digit numbers over Trump the entire lead up to the general election.
So, this is something I wanted to talk to you about. So how do you think our I don't want to say politicians, but how do you think our senators, governors, state legislators, how do you think they get funding?
Maybe for their campaigns?
Yeah, for the campaigns when election season comes up.
From corporations and PACs and giant donors.
Okay, so how do you think they do that?
What do you mean?
Like, because I remember there was a bit on 60 Minutes, and there was a guy on Joe Rogan, I don't remember his name. They were talking about how the DNC and the RNC use this building that's right next to their headquarters, and they have their like legislators, their governors, and their senators like go into this building and like essentially ask for and talk to like people asking for donations and like funds for their campaigns for next season. And they do this for like hours, just doing that instead of like doing legislation and all that.
Most of their time is spent raising money.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of actually doing their real job.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking like, you know, how do we change that?
Publicly financed elections.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
Like we all put money in a pot, and that's how we do it.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. Essentially, there would be no private donations, no company donations. It would be financed through like we would have our taxes would pay for the election season.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, like, but here's the thing, though. I don't think they're gonna do that.
No, of course they're not going to do
but
it.
This is how they'll justify it, though, because we can do that. We can make a super PAC. We can all put our money in together and fund one politician or one governor, one senator, one legislator, and they'll say, yeah, okay, we'll look at your best interests, and that's how they'll view it. Like, you know, because they view it as like, if you give me money, I will look at your interests. I'll try to be part of your interests. But if you don't give me money, then I don't know. I'll do the thing that somebody gives me money to do. And that just seems like a bad idea. If that makes sense. I mean...
Well, the idea behind publicly financed elections, though, is like it's an equal playing field for everyone,
and
instead of...
I wholeheartedly agree, but if a person that is trying to get funds is getting more money than from like these like fundraising things they're doing right now, instead of like that public, they're not going to do it.
Well, that's if you have publicly financed elections, you completely eliminate the system that we have now.
Exactly.
So there is no like.
So
it's not like
that
we'll
large
have
amount of money they
finance elections, and we'll also have like massive donors and companies and PACs. No, you completely do away with the current system.
And they don't want that.
And institute publicly financed. No, they don't want that because that would be more like an actual democracy. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a Republican guy, but
Yeah, whatever. I mean, split hairs on that, but just I think that you look at all the laws, all the legislation, the issues that most of the country agrees on. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the people at the top and the donor class who get to control the legislation. That's why we don't have Medicare for all. That's why our tax code is completely screwed up. That's why we're at war around the entire world, because there's money in it.
I gotta tell you this. I just saw an article on the news that I was reading about the IRS had like this, essentially, from what they described, a SEAL Team 6 of IRS agents trying to go against a like $6.1 billion company from Texas, I think. And I think in 10 years they only got $200 or $160 million for taxes, for tax evasion or something like that. Like, they tried so hard over the course of like the long amount of years and long amount of just investigations, and they're like the best, and they couldn't even take down a company that's worth $6 billion. Like, not even the IRS could handle just this huge, like, intricate changing and distribution of wealth that's been going on right now. And it's just, I don't mean to be very melancholy, but it's like there definitely has to be some reforms and changes, because it seems like the administration and bureaucracy that we're currently in is just so bloated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it's bloated. It's just controlled by the wealthy and the corporations.
Oh.
It should be called the United Corporations of America.
Yeah.
It's the military, industrial, private prison complex.
Yeah, but I feel like it's more complicated than that, because, like, how much money?
Sure,
how much?
It's more complicated than that, but it's pretty easy to understand when you put it in those terms.
Yeah.
You know.
True. Yeah, but I feel like you're cutting out the part. Like, so when we talk about the military-industrial complex, what first comes to mind when it comes to parties that you think of?
You mean like which party is
like most invested into that?
The Republicans and the Democrats.
Okay, so can you explain the Democrat part? Because I always assume it's the Republicans because of, like, the Bush era, Iraq War, and Afghanistan, because that's what I'm most used to. But like, what Democrats besides possibly Hillary Clinton that would be involved in it?
Almost all of them, except for Tulsi Gabbard, maybe Andrew Yang, Ilhan Omar, and Andrea Ocasio-Cortez, or Alexandria.
That's a strange name.
So the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. They're two wings of the same beast.
Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that really differentiates them, which is just a stupid show that they put on for everyone, is like being against or for abortion and being against or for gay marriage.
Yeah. And then
everything else they agree on. all the Democrats support all the wars that we're going into.
Yeah, when Trump wanted to pull out of Syria, they were like, everyone was hesitant, like, what?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We can't be doing that.
Even the Democrats, right? It's because their donors are the same people. The same people donate to both parties because both parties give the same result.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is not the anti-war party, and neither is the Republican Party. They share that thing in common. If you want to be involved in a party that's against war, you need to vote for like a Green Party candidate
or the
like
Libertarian.
Yeah, I guess Libertarians, they're kind of crazy in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion.
Sure.
But
I don't know. I feel like there has to be a balance because when it comes to what was it like bureaucratic processes, essentially, like administration wise, like that's one of the reasons why college is so expensive, is because administration is so huge. Like that's why tuition is so high. Like the education is the same, but the tuition is so expensive. That's why like so many people are like going into debt and staying in debt, because it's so big. Like it is easier to get into college than the military, and that is a fact. And I feel like you would know, because I've been trying to do that the entire time, and while as I go into the college, it's just a cakewalk.
Yeah, because there aren't any like physical requirements to go to college.
I am physically healthy. It's a bunch of stupid shit I said when I was like nervous for one time while I was trying to like decide the fate of my life or something like that. Like, but yeah, that's like, because you can't go in the military with diabetes. You can't go in the military if you're like well, with your eyesight, right? Or is it worse than that?
No, I could. There's just certain things I wouldn't be able to do.
Oh, like
I couldn't be a pilot or be in the special forces or anything like that. Yeah. Because I'm blind almost.
Technically, yeah. But yeah, like, so there's that. But because the reason I ask about Democrats and Republicans, like who's more invested into the industrial complex, I feel like something that was growing over the years after LBJ, which was the war on poverty. Like, that was like a big failure apparently from people I've talked to. And it was like the rising costs of like, what was it? Helping black families, what was it? Like get the same like education costs, or like there was like a program, was it? Like it was what was it? Like I forgot. Essentially, like if you were black and you could go into any college, like there's this huge thing happening in Harvard right now where Harvard was lowering the scores of Asian appliquees for black students who didn't have the best scores. And these black students, when they went into like Harvard or MIT, they were having such a hard time they dropped out because it was so like advanced and the workload was so intense that these other students that were more qualified, that were Asian, couldn't because they were Asian, if that makes sense. Like I'm thinking of No Left Behind, but that's for public schools, and that doesn't have to do with race, but it's like something else. I forgot the word.
Do you mean affirmative action?
That's it, yeah. Like affirmative action seems to me like a big failure because it hasn't helped communities that need them.
Yeah.
Well, like it hasn't helped communities that like maybe just by pulling up on their bootstraps, just coming together and trying to stop like all these problems that are going on. Like instead of like, hey, because you're black, you get to have these benefits that this other person that's white or that's Asian or that's brown like can't, or something like that. I don't know. I feel like
I think it's
just me saying that is making me a racist. I don't know.
I think all of that affirmative action is just putting a finger on the scale for communities that have been oppressed, and suffered the consequences of the policies of America.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
the war on drugs.
Yeah.
You know,
slavery.
Who gets affected the most by the war on drugs? It's
well,
poor
if it was
communities
heroin,
and communities of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, the history of the United States is spiritually, physically, and emotionally hard to move past, I think. Like, just the amount of things our ancestors did just to live here. Because, you know, they were fighting the people that had lived before, you know, accidentally and at times, and then genuinely just killing them off, committing genocide. And, you know, I mean, there's that huge baggage right there.
You mean the Native Americans?
Yeah, the
right?
Native Americans, yeah.
Mm.
And then, you know, bringing slaves over into the South, and like just that whole ordeal as well. And then just trying to keep that type of status quo as technology and like different thoughts of social cohesion changes. The history and scars of all that is still there, like even today. And I feel like we just have to move past it, because like if we just, it's good to talk about it, but
you know, you can't move past it if a huge, you know, portion of the population is totally unwilling to even admit it or talk about it.
But here's the thing, though. I feel like there's that excuse when it came to MLK, when he said, like, you know, judge my kids by their character instead of their skin. And, you know, maybe racists like that alt-right guy that got punched in the face by Antifa, like, you know, he is the minority of the U.S. when it comes to political thought. Like, nobody really thinks about the alt-right like that. Like, they don't want the U.S. like that. Like, when a guy from England was saying, like, there's so many Mexicans in Southern California and Arizona, you should just give that to Mexico because there's so many brown people there. And all I could think of is, that's insane. That is ludicrous. You can't do that. So, I don't know, because, like, did you ever see the movie Hostiles?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's by the guy that played Batman. Like, he's in it. But it's like, essentially, it's overcoming hate. And I feel like that's a very important thing for people right now to understand. Like, because there's, like, when I was really into the left, like far left, when I was younger, I just hated everything this country had to do. I wanted it to burn it to the ground because of what it did in the past. I couldn't move past it. But, you know, I just, like, there's like a learning process as you just see life go by, and I'm just saying, like, this is more complicated than I really originally thought. Like, you know, the white man's evil, and that's what it is. And I feel like, you know, if we're gonna make this country great, or just peaceful enough where we can just live our lives trying to figure life out, like, these scars can remain scars, not to fade away, so we can, like, move for a better future instead of just staying here fighting over something that Europe has had to go through many wars to understand, to accept.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, hopefully I hope I can, like, I'm, like, getting that across, you know?
Well, I mean, I think that's something that's pretty easy for a young white man to be able to say, you know? No. But if you want to be empathetic and try to place yourself literally in the shoes of those people that you're talking about that we've caused all this suffering to.
Yeah.
How do you think they feel about it?
Pretty sure they'd be pissed
Do you think
off.
that like everything's been made up to them so far?
No, I'm not saying it's made up now.
It hasn't.
But it can be made up in the future.
But how? Then how do you do that?
Baby steps.
But isn't affirmative action a baby step?
It's a baby step that went backwards.
But how did it go backwards? Because some Asians aren't getting accepted into Harvard?
No, because it is progressing identity politics, and that's not helping anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it that way.
No?
I don't see it that way.
I mean, I could definitely be wrong. I could be wrong on some parts, so there's that. But just focusing on race, I don't think is helping anyone.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to like identify the problem.
True.
And then come up with some kind of solution for it, right?
I mean, I think one of the greatest uniters is the military. Because nobody cares what race you are. It is all about your character and how you do your job.
Yeah, but
and I'm not saying
the military is not for everyone.
Exactly. I'm not saying the military is there, but it is one of those key things. So what are other things that we can unite people on, and not just war, and not just the military? Because we've seen that path through just fiction, through life, through just theories of what could possibly happen. So what are other things that we could just unite about instead of great tragedies?
Well, I think that, you know, we need to do some great things for our own country.
I mean, my thing is
like forgiving student debt, reforming our collegiate system so that it doesn't cost $100,000 to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Our economy is so fucked that, you know, even if you do go spend $100,000 on college, you might come out and not be able to find a job with your degree that you just spent all that time and money getting.
Yeah, that's what makes me so hesitant getting a college degree, because like, I don't know what to do with it, and I don't know what degree to go for.
Yeah.
So
I think that we have the most massive wealth inequality that we've had since the Gilded Age right now.
Yeah.
The United States is the wealthiest country that the world has ever seen. 50% of our population lives at or below the poverty line. 70% of our population and those are working people.
Yeah.
50% of wage earners, people that are working full time, live at or below the poverty line. 70% of those people, or of our population, can't afford a $500 to $1,000 emergency. You know, what are some things that could change that? Medicare for all is one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know that medical bills are the number one reason for bankruptcy? The number one reason that people
I am not surprised
lose their homes and go into bankruptcy and get ruined financially is because of medical bills.
Yeah.
In the richest country in the entire world. Should that happen?
Well, yeah, no.
The richest country that the planet has ever seen or known, and those are the statistics that we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
What could unite us, Moses, is all of us poor people saying, let's band together and not let these plutocrats control our country anymore. That, you know, identity politics, racism, whatever, you know, the whole there's a crisis at the border and like the Mexicans are taking your jobs. That's just propaganda to keep everyone fighting amongst each other. Everyone knows that shit's not good, right?
Yeah.
Rednecks in the South know that the economy is not doing well. Other people know the economy is not doing well. Well, if the economy is not doing well, you need to find someone to blame it on, right? So if Donald Trump tells you it's the Mexicans are the reason why the economy is shitty, then you get mad at the Mexicans and you don't look at the real actual causes. Is it still recording?
Yeah. I mean, it's right there. Normally it stops recording at the picture, but I think because it's there, it's fine. Again, normally it doesn't.
The number's not moving anymore, though.
Oh my god. Hold on. I really do need to get a new program. But, so, uniting people for a common goal against inequality.
Yeah.
See, that's a hard one. That's a hard one for me to like wrap my head around that, because it's not a concept that I don't get, but from what I've looked at in history, it makes me concerned. Because there was the French Revolution, there was the Russian Revolution, there was the Chinese Revolution, and those were all good reasons. But what happened afterwards was so much bloodshed that it fundamentally changed a lot. Like with the French Revolution, it brought liberalization, it brought democracy to people that didn't know anything beyond monarchies, and that was something that was fundamental and that was appropriate. But when you say appropriate, does that give you the right to, or does that give a person the right who has the power to make a revolution like in Russia that cost even more lives than the French Revolution, and the same in China that costed even more, and then
I don't think that it needs to be a war, like a civil war, or like a bloody revolution. Not in this country. You know? I think that if enough people, I mean, okay. Do you know how many people voted in the presidential election? Just a percentage of eligible voters. How many voted?
Oh God. 69%.
Negative. 50%.
50%.
50% of eligible voters voted in the general election.
Okay, so how many? So what was the age group on that, if I may ask? Like, do you know that one?
I mean, that's just across the entire demographic.
It's just everyone.
Anyone that was eligible to vote, only half of them voted.
Okay, was that voting for, like, the two candidates, or like that other that everyone got?
No. This is voting at all.
Oh, okay. All right.
So only 50% of the people that were eligible to be able to vote voted.
Yeah. That's a problem.
That's a real problem.
Yeah.
But so why is it that way? Because so many people have completely lost any faith in our system. They don't even think it's worth voting. What's the point?
Okay, true. I mean,
and because there's not a candidate worth voting for, right? Everybody hated Hillary Clinton.
Everyone hated Trump.
Yeah. 50% of the people that could have voted didn't vote because they were just like, fuck this, man. They both suck ass. What's the point in voting?
Yeah, they took the George Carlin approach. All right. Wasn't those two candidates were the most unpopular in U.S. history so far, right? Uh-huh. Okay, so let's take 4 years back. So it's the 2012. Do you know that one?
Kinda, yeah.
It was like the same thing, or was it like
what
higher?
The turnout was?
Yeah, the turnout.
It was a higher turnout.
It was a higher turnout,
but not much.
But it's still higher. Like when you go down to the details, it is higher.
Yeah.
And what about 2008? Like the most crisis
I think
you and me were alive.
2008 was like the highest voter turnout that there had been in a long time.
Yeah.
And then it was like less in 2012, and then like super low for 2016.
Yeah. So.
So Obama preached hope and change. People were pretty excited about hope and change, right?
Still
so
waiting
a lot
for
of
that
people
change.
came out to vote for him.
Still waiting for that.
Like, wow, what a...
Oh, God.
Wow, this really could be like change.
Mm-hmm.
People then, even in 2008, wanted some kind of a change.
Huh?
You know? And Obama presented that he was the one that was going to change those things. And he was totally full of shit. Even by his own admission, his policies were considered to be moderate Republican.
Yeah. I remember you saw the same video. I did too.
Yeah. So that was a total failure, and that's a huge reason why like so many people didn't vote. It's a major reason why a lot of people that might have voted for a Democrat didn't vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. I mean, for me though, I have the ideal of like, even if you do not like that person, like you just, I'm not saying you are forced to vote, but like, we live in such a country where you have this say, even if it's like the grain of salt it is, it's still something that weighs something. Like, it still is worth something.
Yeah, I mean, I debate in my own mind about that sometimes, but Lee Camp, something I heard him say, and I think that he heard it actually from someone else, and I don't remember, but I heard Lee Camp say that the powers that be, you know, they don't want you to vote. They prefer that you not vote.
Oh yeah, I saw there was like a guy on the RNC like campaign in the 1980s, and he said like to like the RNC, like, you know, I don't want everyone to vote. It makes it harder for us.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck, so you're an asshole.
That's kind of the reason like why I vote, because I feel like the powers that be would prefer that I not vote. So it's like one little way that I can just be like, fuck you, you know. And I will never succumb to the lesser of two evils, you know? Like, when it came to Trump and Clinton, I mean, I actually thought that Clinton was, like, probably the more evil candidate than Trump anyway.
So, here's the thing, like, when it came to that, if I may ask, if I may tell, when it came to that election, I was so split on that. I was just thinking, like who I would want to win, because I had no idea. I didn't like any of them. But when they said we're gonna make Syria a no-fly zone, that's when I was like, oh my god, she wants to do that. And I'm hearing generals say that's like a declaration of war with Russia. And I'm like, okay, I'm voting for Trump.
And what was Trump saying?
He says no intervention. We're not going to fuck with him.
We're going to bring our troops home and shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't do that. That was a lie. But if you're looking at their messages, Clinton was a war hawk and Trump was an anti-interventionalist. Now, I thought they were both pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So I voted for Jill Stein. I will always vote for someone who represents my own ideals more closely. Trump didn't do that. I knew Trump was full of shit, like when he was saying all that stuff. I knew he was a piece of shit.
See, I did the same thing. I voted for Bernie Sanders. I did that.
In the primary?
No, in the election, I voted for
write his name in?
I put in other, and I put Bernie Sanders.
Oh.
No.
I thought you voted for Trump.
I said I did, just to piss people off at my school.
Huh.
Yeah, but I wanted to win, because I knew Jill Stein wasn't, but... That's...
Plus, because of the way the Electoral College lives, we live in Oregon. It's going to be a cold day in hell when a Republican wins wins in Oregon. So.
Jesus Christ! I mean, shit, we blew up a whale in the 70s. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know about that? We blew up a dead whale.
Yep.
God.
I think on live television.
They did, yeah. I saw it at school. I was like, those crazy bastards. Oh my god.
So we publicly finance elections. Eliminate the Electoral College and go to a popular vote. Those are, in my opinion, that's where you have to start. Like, we could talk about all the other ways that we need to reform our country and change the system and end the wars and change college, Medicare for all, and this, that, and the other thing. The only real place to start is to go to publicly financed elections and end the Electoral College. Then maybe things could change for the positive from there.
So you think it's like the gears and how the thing works, it's not the people that we elect, right? Like I don't want to say the system, because that seems so generic and everyone says that, but like how the country is working right now needs to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a plutocracy.
Yeah.
The corporations and the massively wealthy are the ones that run this country.
Yeah, there was the Panama Papers, and that was a huge leak right there. So, yeah. But what do you think? Like, what do you think about the future when it comes to just like where we're headed? Like, are you hopeful? Are you pragmatic? Are you just pessimistic?
I'm pretty pessimistic, but I haven't been able to give up completely yet.
Okay.
I've wanted to.
Yeah.
I've wanted to just be like, fuck it. I'm not going to even like pay any attention to this stuff anymore because none of it really even matters. But I'm not willing to like completely give up just yet. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's how I'm pretty pessimistic.
Yeah.
And I have friends that have given up entirely and tell me, like, you're wasting your time, man. Like, none of this shit's ever gonna change. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to totally give up on it yet. So.
I don't know. I'm quite hopeful, actually.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You're young.
True. I always say I am young. I haven't seen the worst of life yet.
Yeah,
so.
you're not like jaded and full of cynicism. You know.
I don't know. I mean, if I can get into the Navy, I don't know. Stuff could happen there. Yeah. But still.
So, talk to me again after the 2020 election.
Yeah.
And see how I feel then.
Fuck, isn't it crazy? It's 2019. And the first time I realized we had years was in 2005. So it's just been a wonderful 20 years so far. Goddamn. But anyways, Josh, thanks for coming over and talking about all this. I mean, I feel like we talked more about politics than Salvia, so...
that might be a good thing.
Yeah. All right, well, goodbye, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Moses.